For me, Day of the Dead is my favourite zombie film. It's got everything I want in a zombie film. It's got horror and zombies and soldiers in a base underground. And it's got loads of gore. I mean, it's got a lot of gore. I mean, loads of gore. And it's got great looking, rotting corpses walking about eating flesh. Dawn of the Dead is probably a better film, but the zombies in that film are just blue. You know, the zombies in Day of the Dead are rotting. They look like they've been, dead for weeks. I mean, they look creepy and it looks great. Day of the Dead was made by legendary zombie king George Romero, and it's the third film in his trilogy. You got Night of the Living Dead, which is in black and white, but a great film. You got Dawn of the Dead, which is the best film, but the zombies are just blue. And then you got Day of the Dead, which has got creepy music, rotting zombies, and soldiers going apeshit underground. It's a fantastic film. It's got gore, zombies, guns, and plenty of blood. I mean, in many ways, this film is way ahead of its time. I mean, this is the ultimate zombie film in my book. It basically follows on from the first two films, where the world's gone to shit and a bunch of scientists are trying to find a cure for this zombie plague underground in a military installation surrounded by pissed off soldiers who've had enough of this whole fucking shit sandwich. The real threat isn't really the zombies, it's the soldiers. They're getting paranoid and pissed off, and they really want to get out of this place, and they've pretty much gone stir crazy, and you don't know what they're going to do. They're paranoid and violent and dangerous. As if things aren't creepy enough though, the guy running this whole place, the top head scientist, is carrying out experiments on the dead soldiers. After they die, he's carrying out experiments on the friends of these guys. So, that creates tension, because if they find out he's cutting up their best friends, they're not going to be too happy about it. I mean, he's using the dead soldiers' bodies like some sort of lab rat experiment, and they don't know about it. And he's making progress, but if they find out about this, shit's really going to hit the fan. I mean, these guys have got guns and they're already on edge and highly strung. It won't take much just to ignite the entire tinderbox and blow the whole fucking place wide open. On top of this, you've got this woman scientist, and she's trying to help keep peace, but she realises this guy's carrying out experiments on dead soldiers, and she tries to cover it up. Considering this film was made in 1985 and there's no CGI, the practical effects in this film are amazing. I mean, that looks like a head, doesn't it? And it's full of special effects like this that look very realistic. I mean, when I watched this film, I was like, wow, how did they do that? That looks like he's really ripping that guy's head off. That guy looks like he's literally being ripped apart by zombies. That's amazing. The hero of this film is actually a woman, which is great, and she's a no-nonsense girl, and she's surrounded by sexist, misogynistic assholes. I mean, these guys are real crumb bums. They're not good guys, and she makes friends with this helicopter pilot, and he's one of the only decent guys there, and he's got a friend who's drunk all the time because he can't take any more of this shit. But they're pretty much the only three decent people in it. The rest of them are just a bunch of a-holes. But then if I was locked underground with a bunch of zombies day in, day out for, years, I'd probably be pissed off too, On top of everything else, there's Bib, and he acts as a bit of comic relief. He's basically a zombie who's been experimented on, and he can pick up objects and hold them and look at them. I mean, he's still a walking imbecile, but he's like the smartest zombie of all, And the head scientist is experimenting with him, and he keeps him as a kind of pet. And he's a bit like Dr. Frankenstein's monster. I think the top scientist is trying to train him to do manual labour, like be a trolley boy at a supermarket or something. This film is full of great scenes, and they're not just scary, they're brutally gory. I mean, there's one where a guy's screaming and the zombies just rip his head off whilst he's still screaming. It's brilliant, and you think to yourself, how did they film that? How did they do that? It looks amazing. The film also has this weird, creepy 80s music. I really like that weird music they used to have in the 80s. It's just really creepy. I don't think they found more unsettling music in a film since. It's just that brilliant sort of 80s music that they use in horror films. It just works brilliantly. Another one of the best scenes is basically when one of the soldiers goes crazy and they have a lift and he lowers the lift and all the zombies are on the lift, and he gets the zombies to come to the lift by just lying there, and they just eat him alive, and it's a big platform lift and they're all on it eating him alive, and then he just pushes a button and just lowers the lift and that, so the zombies all get into the base. I mean, he just wants to end this nightmare. And when the zombies walk into the base, it's it's over then. Another one of my favourite scenes is when Sergeant Rose basically betrays everybody. When the zombies get in, he panics, he runs away, and he ends up getting chased by Bib, who tries to shoot him with a gun, and he tries to lure him into a trap, but he ends up getting shot himself, and then he gets eaten by zombies, and, it's a really brutal, violent scene. He literally just gets ripped apart. They just rip his guts out. And once again, the special effects are amazing, and it looks great, and it looks real, and this film has got some of the most brutal zombie deaths I've ever seen. I mean, these guys really, pay a high price for being a bunch of assholes. What makes this film so eerie is it's underground in a creepy sort of bunker, and it's very claustrophobic, and at one point they got zombies in these tunnels, and they put the heroes in the tunnels so the zombies kill them, and the heroes start running away, and there's that famous line where he shouts, "Run, you fucking lunatics!" I mean, there's nothing more scary than a creepy underground eerie bunker in the dark in the 80s with 80s music. I mean, it's just perfect horror. There are so many classic scenes in this film. I mean, it's just brilliant. It's one of my favourite, if not my favourite zombie film. But I think my favourite scary scene in the whole film is probably the wall scene. It's right at the start of the movie. There's no zombies at the start. It's just a woman in a room, and it just got this really creepy build-up, and there's a calendar on the wall with, like, I think it's pumpkins on it, and you look at it and think, what's this about? Jesus Christ. That is an amazing jump scare. One of the greatest in film history. I don't care who you are. When you watch that scene for the first time, you don't know what's going to happen and you will piss your pants. It's just brilliant stuff. And that is the scariest scene in Day of the Dead. I mean, there's so many great scenes, but that one will make you jump. The others are more gory than scary and creepy, but that's a jump scare. This is the reason, for me, that Day of the Dead is one of the greatest zombie, if not maybe one of the top 3 greatest zombie films of all time. I mean, it is just gory, it's brilliant, it's got comedy moments in it, it's got true horror, it's got real creepy music, it's got real creepy tunnels and a claustrophobic atmosphere. It really does seem like the end of the world, and these guys are right at the centre of it all. Day of the Dead is more than just a cult classic. It's a brilliant zombie film. It may not be quite as good as Night of the Living Dead, and it's not as good as Dawn of the Dead, but even so, it's my favourite. And the reason it's my favourite is because it's got everything. It's got soldiers, zombies, guns, a claustrophobic atmosphere, creepy music, plenty of gore. I mean, it is really the ultimate zombie film in many ways. And it's a perfect way to end the Romero zombie trilogy.